Welcome to the It's Time podcast with your host, Professor Dale Feinauer, from the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh College of Business Graduate Programs.
Welcome to another It's Time podcast, an offering of the UW-Oshkosh College of Business Graduate Programs. I'm your host, Dale Feinauer. Once again, we're here at A.J. Armstrong Studios to help throw a little more fuel on the flame of your desire to enhance your business management skills. As all of this first session, we're focused on leadership. Very happy today to have Kevin Beauchamp with us from Galloway Company, who's going to talk to us about some of his experience as a leader. Could you start talking a little bit about the company? What does the company do, and what the heck is your role there?
Sure, Dale. And let me first start by thanking you for this opportunity to share my story and share the story of Galloway Company. As Dale said, my name is Kevin Beauchamp. I've been with Galloway Company since 2005. I started with them. Simple kid from the UP, moved down here to work at Galloway Company. Galloway Company is a dairy manufacturer. We bring in milk directly from local family farms, and we turn it into one of three things. The first one being dairy dessert mix. So if you went to an organization around here that had, say, a blue awning on it, you could think of us, or one with a red roof, you could probably think of us also, or any of the mom and pop shops that have soft serve. That's probably our product that we make here at Galloway Company. Second product is sweetened condensed milk. We're the largest manufacturer of sweetened condensed milk in the country. So if you went to a coffee shop that put a pumpable syrup on top of it, that flavor is being carried by our sweetened condensed milk. And the third product is cream liqueurs. If you went to the grocery store and looked at the cream liqueur aisle and looked past Bailey's, about 90% of the rest of that stuff is product made right here in Neenah, Wisconsin. And it all starts with local family farms that deliver that milk into our factory.
And you're actually making the the product. You're not, are you providing input to someone who's doing the alcohol component of that, or you're actually making the alcohol enhanced product?
It leaves our factory with alcohol in it. Yes. Many of the products we supply to our customers, it's all business to business. You won't go see Galloway Company on any of the grocery store shelves or any of that stuff. But many of the business to business stuff we sell, it will go directly into a bottle and they'll put their label on it.
Gotcha. And what do you do there?
So great question, Dale. I have a ton of fun at Galloway Company. I started there in 2005 as an engineer, working on the control systems that open and close valves and how much milk goes into the product, how much sugar goes into the product. 2008, I was asked to be the engineering manager. Loved that role and continued to grow in my career, helped put some buildings in and expand the organization. And in 2017, I was asked to be the COO and did that role for a handful of years. And then in May of 2020, I was asked to sit in the president's chair. I've been in that role since May of 2020 and absolutely love it. I love the Galloway Company. I love the Galloway Company culture. It's just a wonderful family and a wonderful organization.
Why do you love the culture? What about the culture at Galloway fits with your leadership style?
Well, one of the things that, I came from the paper mills up in the Upper Peninsula. I talked earlier about being a simple kid from the Upper Peninsula, moving down to the big city of Appleton, Wisconsin, Neenah, Wisconsin. And I was fearful that, I was entering a family organization. I came from an organization that had 1,100 people that worked at the one place I worked at. And I'm going to go to work at a place back then. We had about 65 people and there were 5 owners that were there, and they're going to be standing over my shoulder wondering what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. It is absolutely nothing like that. The Galloways have a culture of, they hire you to do a job, they expect you to do that job, and they let you do that job. It's a pretty cool and unique culture. It's a culture where we enlist people to do their job. We expect them to do their job. We let them do their job, and they do their job. And we help each other out whenever we can get a chance to do that.
Tell us a little bit about your life story and how you've evolved to become the leader you are today.
So thanks for that question, Dale. Like I said earlier, simple kid from the UP. I grew up in a small community up in the Upper Peninsula. It's a paper mill community in Escanaba. But I grew up with 3 brothers, and my mom and dad encouraged us to do a lot of things in athletics. I still do a lot of things in athletics because I've learned things about leadership in athletics that I don't think that I would have learned without that.
Talk about that. What have you learned from athletics that relates to leadership?
So, played a lot of sports growing up. My kids have played a lot of sports growing up. And one of the things that people ask me, I'm still involved in the Neenah High School wrestling program, where I'm doing leadership coaching for the captains this year. This is the first year I'm not rolling around on the kids with the mat on the mat. So a different experience for me, but I'm trying to learn. So many people have asked me, what do I like about wrestling? I think it's the greatest team sport out there. And they think, well, how can that possibly be?
Right.
When you're up there one against one. Well, the reality is, in lots of sports, baseball, football, you got a strong pitcher, a strong batter, or a strong quarterback. You can succeed as a team behind one person. When you're a wrestler, you're out there on the mat, one-on-one against somebody else, fighting for your team. There's team scores. There's individual kids wrestling at individual weight classes, and their team scores add up at the end. You can't take a play off. You can't take a second off, or you'll end up on your back and you'll lose team points. So therefore, I say it's the greatest team sport out there right now. And what I've learned from that is I'm counting on other kids on my team to contribute to our team score at the end. Not everybody's going to be a superstar. And the kids that aren't superstars, you have to encourage them the same way that you encourage the superstars to provide team points. And the superstars, you have to teach them. What I'm doing right now with our captains is, you guys are superstars. There are kids, there are young kids. How do you acclimate them into the program so they know their value, they feel included from day one, not halfway through the season or halfway through their career, but from day one?
So what I'm hearing is that what you learned from sports, from wrestling in particular, is that the team was only as strong as its weakest link. And if you want to help the team, you've got to help grow and develop the other folks on the team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we've done with that at Galloway companies, we've got a phenomenal onboarding process. Our HR team has put together just a great thing. We hear so many comments about that from our new employees. Day one, we meet these folks at the front door, shake their hands, welcome to Galloway Company. Their first 2 weeks are scheduled out hour by hour, who they're meeting with. They spend, in their first 2 or 3 days, they spend at least 2 hours, me as the president of the company, they spend at least 2 hours with the owners individually, hearing the owners' stories. And that goes across all of the leadership team, where they spend time with individual folks in our organizations. So they're acclimated to our culture. They get to contribute to our culture, understand it, and then contribute to our culture from day one.
I can hear a lot of CEOs and other managers thinking, what are you thinking about? Why would you want to spend that much time with some new employee? Don't you have better things to do with your time?
I don't think there's anything more important than allowing people to feel, you talk about diversity and inclusion, and people go after diversity, great stuff. And I think that it's what makes the world spin. But without inclusion, you get a diversified workforce. That doesn't help you. So therefore, I believe day one, you need to start with inclusion. These folks need to feel included. And how can you feel more included when spending 2 hours with the president of the company or 2 hours with the owners of the company on the first or second day that you start there?
So the feeling of being a part of the organization is an important part of what you're trying to do as a leader.
Absolutely.
And you learned that partially from the sports experience you had, athletics, when you were younger.
Absolutely, yes.
Any other takeaways from athletics?
Yeah. There's lots of things you can learn from athletics. I don't care how good you are. There's going to be somebody better, and you're going to lose. The people that get knocked down and get back up, those are the ones that are winners. That's the same thing in business. It's absolutely the same thing. I talk all the time in my office. You come there, there's on the wall, there's vision, believe, and persistence written on the wall. Lots of people have a vision to be something really cool, whether it's in sports or in business. The people that achieve that are the ones that don't ever lose belief in themselves. Too many times you run up against an obstacle and you lose that little bit of confidence, you lose that little bit of belief, and you don't achieve your vision. You're going to get knocked down. You need that persistence. So vision, believe, and persistence. The persistence to never lose belief in your vision, and you're going to accomplish that.
And that's one of the things that athletics taught you, was that combination of
Yeah, we teach our
skills.
kids that now in wrestling. We at the beginning of the season, you set up, what's your vision? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish this year for yourself individually and for your team? And we have them write that down. I learned that from my high school coaches.
So shared vision is another critical aspect of leadership.
Absolutely, yeah. If we're not all aligned along the same vision and we're all shooting for different things in one organization, it's tough to accomplish that vision because your belief in what your vision is different than somebody else's vision. And you're right, Dale, it has to be a shared vision.
Excellent. What was your first leadership role, and
My-
what did you learn from it?
My first leadership role was on the wrestling mat. I was a team captain when I was in high school. Learned lots of things about myself, learned lots of things about the team around me, and had some great coaches to help me learn some things about leadership. I know it's not easy. It certainly wasn't easy back then. It's not easy today. And no matter how good you're at it, there's more stuff to learn. And there's people around you that can teach you many more things about leadership that you don't know today.
So always learning sounds like another aspect.
Yeah, the desire to learn is such an integral part of leadership. And it's an integral part of people that are successful. You can't ever be stagnant. You can't ever be satisfied knowing what you know today. You have to have an integral desire to learn something today that you didn't know yesterday.
Okay. After high school, then what? What was next in your story?
So after high school, went to college, had a slow start, like many folks do, and then ended up getting a job at the paper mill. Started as a computer-aided design guy as I was getting my 2-year degree, working as a contractor. And they saw something in me back then and wanted me to work directly for the paper mill. And there was a rule the mill manager had, and I'm thankful for him to this day. His rule was you could not get a full-time job without a 4-year degree. So they created an internship program, which they didn't have, and paid for my education. I commuted back and forth to Marquette, Michigan for 2 full years to get my undergrad degree. God love my wife because she'd make me 2 meals in the morning. And I get a little emotional about this because it's pretty cool stuff. What she did for me and for my career. So I'd get up in the morning, I'd have 2 lunches made for me. One that I'd either eat at lunch on the way back from college because I left for college early in the morning, or one that I'd eat at the paper mill. So I was going to school full time, working full time, and did that for 2 years. Zero social life for both my wife and I. And it paid off because got my 4-year degree. There wasn't a job available for me at the paper mill when I was done with my education, nor was there one promised for me then. But by chance, there was a job open for me in Rumford, Maine, because we just bought a mill out there. And so they sent me to Rumford, Maine for 2 years. My wife and I moved out there, didn't know a soul out there. Great experience out there on our own. We had our first child out there, Brandon. We call him our little maniac, and who's now a senior at Milwaukee School of Engineering. We're out there for 2 years. Came back home to Escanaba, took a transfer back home to be an engineer there again, and did that for about 5 years. 3 years into that 5-year stint, I knew that, I probably want something different. I want to move on to some more leadership roles. So I started to get my MBA, and I moved into an operations role at the paper mill. Learned some more stuff about leadership there. I had probably 40 people working for me at the time. Just a young kid at 28 years old, something like that. And worked through that, finished near the end of my MBA, and Galloway company called and said, we'd like you to come through a headhunter, obviously.
Right.
We'd like you to come down and take a look at this role. So moved down to look at it, to look at an engineering role. I took a day off from work, drove down by myself, and I walked into the Galloway company. It's funny because I've been there for over 17 years, and I still talk to people that, I drive by that place all the time. What do you guys do there? So I drive into this place, stainless steel tanks on the outside and some brick buildings around it, and walk up this kind of spiral staircase, and it's plywood paneling, and people are jammed in offices. And I met with Doug, the president back at that time. I met with a couple of the owners at the time, took a tour of the factory, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's all kinds of cool stuff in here, all kinds of cool toys. And I drove back home, and my wife said, what did you think? And I thought, there's something about that place. Let's try it out. And so we drove down there together about 2 weeks later, and we walked in and we went in and we talked to Doug. We both walked up, we had shorts on and t-shirts on because we were just poking around the area. Went in and talked to Doug, and we walked out of there. My wife, Bridget, said, "What the heck do you see in this place?" And I'm like, I don't know, but she loved Doug also. It has to do with the culture, right? The Galloways bring in the people that are really similar to them. And Doug was a super guy too. So a month later, I was working full time for Galloway Company. And I ended up at that point, I had 2 classes to finish my MBA, did finish up my MBA, and then moved into the engineering manager's role. And we talked a bit about how I got to where I'm at now.
And now a few words about some of the programs and services offered by the UW-Oshkosh College of Business.
Powerfully positioned, strategically designed, results driven. That's what sets the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh Master of Business Administration program apart in Northeast Wisconsin. Our MBA professional program offers flexible course options to meet the needs of working professionals seeking career advancement. Take the courses 100% online, in person during the evenings in Appleton or Oshkosh, or a combination of both, and earn your MBA in as little as 2 years. No GRE or GMAT required. It's time to achieve more with a graduate degree from UW-Oshkosh. Visit uwo.sh/MBA to learn more. That's uwo.sh/MBA. Visit today.
All right, couple of questions. One, what do you think they saw in you? So you talked about you're working for this company, this is before Galloway, where they create the internship for you. What did they see in Kevin that said, oh, this is a guy worth investing in?
I don't know the answer to that. However, it's an interesting question. As I think about it today, one of the owners came up to me, Todd Galloway. He's the guy that works in engineering. That's who I worked closely with when I first started there. His brother, who's retired now, came up to me, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago and said, hey, story for you. Your second day at Galloway Company back in 2005, my brother Todd came up to me and said, I think I just hired my new boss. So he saw something. To answer your question, I don't know what he saw, but he saw something back then. Maybe it was my desire to learn new things. Maybe it was my desire to integrate myself into the facility and learn something new. And I don't know what he saw.
What advice would you have for a young person who's going to be going into an organization about how they ought to present themselves, how they ought to manage themselves to more likely be the person who is perceived as someone who can move up?
Great question. I was a young kid back in 2005, a lot younger.
We were all young kids at one point.
A lot younger than I am now. And I knew way more back then than I do right now.
I understand.
And your question about what advice do I give to a young kid? It's be coachable. Be a coachable kid. Be coachable. Don't come in and thinking you know everything. It gets back to what I learned on the wrestling mat. If you're a kid that knows everything, knows every move already, or knows everything about engineering, nobody's going to want to help you. Nobody's going to want to work alongside of you. There are energy givers and energy vampires. If you're an energy vampire because you know everything already, nobody's going to want to work with that. So find a way to be coachable.
So would you guess that both at the paper mill and at Galloway, it was the questions you asked, the interest you showed in the organization, not the things that you pontificated on that were amazing pearls of wisdom that resulted in your having those opportunities?
I think that's probably a good analysis, Dale. I think that when I walked in Galloway, I was infatuated with all the cool stuff that was there. I wanted to learn everythn about all
these
of
toys.
The toys.
You're an engineer. Let me at them.
Let me at them. And how does this work? And how do I learn more about this? How do I make that? How do I learn more about it? And how do I make it better? It's I think that would be my advice.
You had mentioned your wife.
Yes.
And that was clearly a emotional moment for you. What role do spouses play in an individual's ability to be a good leader?
I don't care who you are. There's somebody behind you. There's a support team behind you. And, my support team is pretty large. I've got a lot of people that were on my side rooting for me. There's no doubt about it. Spouses are an integral piece of that support group behind you. without them. My wife stayed home and took care of the kids until the youngest one was in 5th grade. Now, how do you replace that? And knowing that she's there to take care of the kids and you can go to work. 'Cause there's a spur of the moment trips that pop up all the time. I need to go look at this piece of equipment, and then 2 days later I'm on a plane looking at it. Or there's a breakdown. I had to go back in, I was coaching baseball sometimes, and one time in particular, I'll never forget it. The separator broke down, and I was there for like 36 hours straight during the middle of a weekend tournament. And I was sleeping in my Yukon in between games because I was just out of gas. My wife was there to pick up the pieces to make sure that I was able to do that. So, yeah.
So it has been not only, I'm hearing, a team thing in terms of how you operate at Galloway, but it's been a team thing on the home front as well.
I don't care what you're doing, Dale. Everything is a team thing. Even in individual sports, you look at some of the Olympics are going on right now, and these guys are going down the slope by themselves. They're not there by themselves. It's all that hard work that when the camera's on, when they're going down the slopes, the people see all that, but they don't see all the hard work that's going on when the camera's not on and their family's making 2 meals for them a day so they can get to work or they can get to the slopes to practice. It's a team thing no matter what you're doing.
Very good. How do you think others would describe your leadership style?
My leadership style has changed over time. I'm inclusive. People talk about great leaders and how smart they are. I am never the smartest person in the room. Never.
I can relate.
If I'm in the room, usually my dog is in the room with me, and alone that is, and the dog is even smarter than me. So my leadership style is, the senior leadership team at Galloway Company is full of super, super talented people. I got a call yesterday from our HR director, Chief Human Resource Officer, and she had a question about me, and my answer was, "What would you do? I mean, your expertise is more qualified than my answer on this. What would you do?" And she shared with me what her thoughts were, and I said, "I like that. Let's tweak it just a little bit," and away we went. I can give you endless examples of the director, senior director of engineering, senior director of operations. They all have those same skill sets that I don't have. So my leadership style is to rely on all the super smart people that I've got around me to help come up with the right solution for our team, our whole team.
So you hire, it sounds like, and are looking for really bright people that are really good at what they do, and your job is to get them all working collaboratively together.
I certainly want to hire super bright people, and I absolutely do not want to hire yes man people. Yes man people will get me more of what I have right now. I don't need that. I need us to get us to the next step. So, yeah.
Well, we'll talk about yes men in a minute, but why is that not intimidating? I know managers that don't really want to hire people that are potentially brighter than them. What if they show you up? You look bad.
I'm perfectly fine with that. I am absolutely fine if somebody comes in with a better idea than me, because then the team's idea is now this new idea. I had a boss that told me one time that my idea is always the best idea, and if you come up with a better idea than me, that's now my idea. So I spin that just a little bit and say, if somebody comes up with a better idea, that's now the team's idea, and let's march forward with that new idea.
And you view it as a team idea. We're not labeling it by anybody's name.
The Galloway Company is way more collaborative than any other organization I've been associated with. I don't sit in my office and say, executive privilege, we're going to make this decision, away we go. We get a team together so that we come up with a diverse opinion set, develop the best idea and the best solution, and we'll march forward with that.
Now, how do you make that happen? I hear it, but I'm working for you. I'm in whatever role, report to you. My job depends on you smiling. How do you get me to the point that I'm comfortable challenging you? Challenging the boss doesn't sound like a career move.
So a couple things there. So everybody that comes into my office on day one, new employees, the guys that work on the plant floor to the chief human resource, I told them all the same thing. I learned leadership stuff by coaching youth sports. And the first practice of every youth sport, I would sit all the parents down in the stands and say, I'm going to do my best to make sure that little Johnny gets the right amount of playing time in the right position. I'm going to make mistakes. I guarantee I'm going to make you make mistakes. What I don't need is you guys kibitzing in the stands about how Kevin's making mistakes. Come and tell me face to face, because kibitzing in the stands is not going to get little Johnny more playing time. So tell it to me on my face. And I'm not going to go back at Johnny and make him play less because that's just not the way it works. So when these people come into the organization, I tell them the same thing. I say, people don't get fired. You can come in my office. My door's always open. You can come in my office and tell me I'm a ding dong. You're not going to get fired on the spot. However, if you're out kibitzing about how much of a ding dong Kevin is, that's not going to get you to the next promotion. That's not going to get you to the next job. Come in and tell me what I'm doing wrong so that I'm aware of it. So that being said, I allow people to come into my office and tell me I'm being a ding dong. And here's a better idea. One of my favorite people in the world, my neighbor Phil Beaver, when I got my new promotion to be the president, he goes, "Congratulations, you'll never hear the truth again." So that same idea is, how do I get these people to tell me the truth? And I have this conversation with people all the time. If I don't know about it, I can't help you with it. So even if it's not what you think I want to hear, please share that with me. I'll help you through it. I'll do what I can to remove the roadblocks.
It sounds to me like you're not just tolerant of people coming in and challenging, questioning things, but you're strongly encouraging it.
Absolutely strongly encouraging, and actually even more than that, discouraging if they don't.
So if I'm not challenging, if I'm just playing a yes man in your organization, I'm going to hear about it, and that's no way for me to get promoted in the organization.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
All right. You think you were a born leader?
So, there are lots of people that ask that question. Are you a born leader? Are leaders born?
Yes.
I don't
take credit for that question.
I believe there are some people that are born with natural leadership instincts and abilities. My dad always told me, you're a leader. I didn't see it. I look at it like this. Nobody, you look at these bodybuilders, they weren't born like that. They worked hard at it. I think leadership is the same thing. I was born with some abilities, but without working those leadership muscles through good coaches of mine. I spend lots of time, even today, with coaches. No matter what role you get in the organization, I believe that there's opportunities to continue getting help from coaches. So no, I wasn't born the leader I am today. I was born with some leadership skills, and I continue to grow on those to build them more tomorrow than I am today.
Interesting. How do you think, what explains your evolution over time? So you described it, you've evolved as a leader. What's allowed you to evolve and get better at leadership?
Failure. Simple answer. Failure. You talk about vision, believe, and persistence. I had a vision to be a leader right from a long, long time ago. And I never lost belief in it. And believe me, I've gotten knocked down pretty hard on a couple occasions, several occasions, a couple big occasions. I had one whole team in the matter of 3 months walk out the door.
Wow.
And you want to talk about a leadership realization. And fortunately, I had the Galloways stand behind me and say, we're gonna help you through this. I talk about, I coach, I learned so much from sports. One of the things I learned was the umpire's, he's the final rule maker, right? If you run across first base and he rings you up, you're out. And you think you were safe by half a step, you hold your head high, you hustle back to the dugout. The kids in the dugout, the coaches included, are going to be, hey, let's try to get you out of the box. Maybe you were safe, maybe you weren't, but we're going to try to find a way to get you out of the box. That same thing is true. When you have a whole department walk out the door in the matter of a couple of months, when you hustle back to the dugout, they just called you out. When you hustle back to the dugout, there's a team around you saying, we're going to help you through this. We're going to get you some new leadership training. We're going to work on this. We're going to tweak this. We're going to do a 360. We're going to figure out what's going right, what's not going right. We're going to fix those things, and you're going to be a stronger leader tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened on several occasions in my career.
So it sounds like you've approached failure as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, everybody says, you learn from, I absolutely believe you learn way more from failure. And, the challenges, one of my biggest challenges as a leader is you can see folks heading towards a failure to allow them to fail. So they get that same leadership opportunity or learning opportunity that I've had the benefit of going through. That's difficult as a leader to allow people to fail so that they can learn. But yes, I believe you learn way more through failure than you do through success.
All right, we're going to come back to how you let them fail, but let me hit you with What have you learned from failures? I assume a piece of it is you get back up. This is the back to the wrestling thing. You're going to lose, and you got to fail and lose and get back up. What else have you learned from failures that you've had to experience in life?
Well, I talk about teams. And when you fail, you've got a strong team around you that's going to help you through this. You're not in this. You're going to fail. There's a team around you that's going to help get you back up. You're not in it alone. And no matter how tough it is, you just need to count on your team, count on yourself. Don't lose belief in yourself and get back up. So every failure, it seems like you learn something from it, and the next failure is a little bit easier, even if it's a more difficult failure.
So I'm hearing a number of things. Believe in yourself, learn from the failure, and trust your support network to help you get through the failure.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. You raised a critical question there, I think. You're a leader. You've got a subordinate who's heading towards what looks to you to be a failure. How do you decide, I think there's enough professional development? How do you make that a professional development experience for them? How do you decide, no, that I can't let them use this as a professional experience?
So pretty simple. If it's going to be a catastrophic failure that's going to hurt somebody or the organization significantly, you cut that off at the pass. Pretty simple.
Right.
And then there's a continuum. How far along do you let that go? Obviously, the low ones, you just let them crash into the failure, and they'll find their way through it. And the ones in between, you try to ask the right question as they're heading towards this failure, so that they can learn from the answer that they give in the question. So try to guide them, as opposed to, here's the failure you're heading into. You might want to try this.
So you're helping them think through the situation with the potential that they'll come to a different solution, as opposed to the one that you perceive as heading to a failure, as opposed to telling them, hey, that's going to be a failure, do something different.
Yeah, the key there is, I'm not trying to build followers in the organization. I'm trying to build leaders of the organization. I'm not going to be at Galloway Company forever. And even the senior leadership around me is not going to be at Galloway forever. So how do I build leadership skills in those folks around me? So it's the key is, how do I teach them to think about things a little bit differently, so that they can learn those same leadership skills that they can teach somebody else down the road?
That statement is striking to me. You're trying to build leaders, not build followers. Strikes me most leaders are about trying to get followers, get folks to join the team that they're leading. How did you come to the conclusion that it was your job to build leaders?
I think that is one of my most important job, is to make sure that the organization is set up for success when I leave someday. No, nothing too soon, but someday I'm going to leave.
You're not announcing anything here today, are you?
Absolutely not. No. But that is a very important job, to make sure the organization is set up for success. It was handed off to me in a very sound financial position, a very sound cultural position. I need to make sure that happens. And the only way I can do that is if there's a strong group of leaders in the organization. And I believe that's what we have today. And if we can continue to build the skill set of those senior leadership team members, the managers, the mid-level managers, the guys on the floor, lots of folks, when we go to conventions, are asking us, when we make product for them, hey, can we come and take a look at your facility? I'm always proud to, anytime you want to come and look at the Galloway Company, I am so proud of what's inside of that organization. Not just the equipment, but the folks that are in it. It's phenomenal to give a tour of people, and have them run into people that are making ice cream, and run into people that are making sweet condensed milk and cream liqueurs, and just have a conversation. You can just feel, oftentimes I say, it's pretty tough to define the culture of an organization, Galloway Company in particular, but it is super easy to see when you walk through it.
Interesting. How given you clearly have thought about this leadership journey that you're on, do you perceive it to be more art or science?
It's way more art than science, I can tell you that.
Go on.
There's, I've read tons of leadership books, and you can grab a piece of this and a piece of that and put it all together. But it's how you can't just grab a book and replicate what somebody else is doing. You can steal some ideas from those folks and tweak this and tweak that, but it's artwork. How do I put it together compared to how you might put it together, Dale? And your leadership style tweak using the same tools that I'm using is going to be totally different, because your art is going to be different than my art. And what's really unique about that is art is in the eye of the beholder. And my leadership skills have to be tweaked a little bit for you as opposed to the folks that are shooting this video right now. It would have to be a little bit tweaked for them.
Gotcha. And now a few words about some of the programs and services offered by the UW-Oshkosh College of Business.
The University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh MBA Executive Program offers an array of scholarships supporting veterans, single parents, road warriors or those commuting more than 75 miles to attend class, employees of government and nonprofit organizations, and for those who make referrals for potential MBA executive students within their workplace or professional network. Eligible students may qualify for multiple scholarships. Visit uwo.sh/MBA scholarships for more information and eligibility requirements. That's uwo.sh/MBA SCHOLARSHIPS.
So how do you inspire that? How do you teach that? You're trying to grow leaders in the organization. You're not trying to develop followers. How do you teach people to do something that's an art?
Well, one of the things that I take pride in doing, and this again is I stole this idea and tweaked it a little bit. My predecessor used to put little business-sized cards with little notes. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Sliding in lockers, the guys that work on the plant floor, or a manager that bought a good piece of business for us, or a sales guy, put a little note on their desk. I tweaked that a little bit, and I added a little bit different, tweaked a little spin to it, and I put a presidential dollar taped to it.
Okay.
For two reasons. One is they get this little note and they feel appreciated, and two is they take that presidential dollar off and they stick it in their pocket and they get home and they give it to their son or daughter when they get home at night. I get two wins out of that. When they read that card the first time and when they give that presidential dollar to their son or daughter, they say, "Daddy, where did you get this from?" And they tell that story. And hopefully these folks are learning from that. And I encourage, my team around me to do some of that stuff. I send a birthday card and an anniversary card to every employee on their anniversary and their birthday. A handwritten note that says something cool about what they did recently in the plant or in the office. And almost invariably, I write, "We are lucky to have you on the team." I absolutely mean that every time I write it. We are phenomenally lucky. We talk about organizations for years have said, our most important asset is our people. Never more have you seen that since COVID. You look at trying to get people into organizations, you look at getting stuff into our organizations, it's the people. And I don't care what kind of cool gadgets, stainless steel you have in any organization, without the people to run that stuff, you're not going to make an ounce of product for anybody.
It's interesting. You're doing something to reward, to note the employees, but you're doing it in such a way that it's going to translate to their family. And this is kind of back to the family that you said before. Why is it important for you to get that second win of they take that dollar home and they're showing it to their spouse, to their kid, giving it to their child? Why do you care what the kid thinks?
I think it's important. The Galloway company is such a family organization. We do some really cool things around including families. This dang COVID thing has put a real damper on that. But we include families as much as we can. I know most of the folks, even on the plant floor, what kids they have. I try to remember their names. There's 130 families.
Wow.
It's more difficult to do that. But I try to understand as much as I can about that. I make my daily trips out in the plant. And we work shift work, so I don't hit everybody every day. But I try to hit once a day. I get out in the plant and just walk around and chat with folks. What's going on in your life? And what's going on in the plant that I can help facilitate to make your life better? What's your complaints today?
Why is it important for you to know the family? Why do you care if they have family? They're there. They need to get their job done.
I come in to work every day to be a leader, to lead the organization. I do that for my family. And I guarantee you that everybody that comes into work is doing that for their family. They have a reason, and most folks is for their family. It's not because they want to buy some fancy a new pickup truck, or they do it for their family.
All right. So that you're trying to build on that family feeling that they have walking in the door and help them connect what they're doing at Galloway with their ability to help and support and take care of their family.
One of the things to answer your question, Dale, why does it matter what the family means? what they think about Galloway Company. When I chose to leave the paper mill, my family made that decision. I didn't make that decision. Therefore, I believe it's important for the family to understand what Galloway Company thinks of their family, how important we think of their family to contribute together towards our team so we can all be successful together.
Would the extrapolation of that be that it's likely you're going to get a lower turnover rate if the employees of Galloway companies, families are supportive of them working at Galloway?
Yeah, our turnover rate is phenomenal. It's 3.5 or something crazy like that.
Even in this great resignation where everybody's
even in this great resignation, it's a phenomenal number, but it's not about the number. It's about the family. It's about the family being happy. I talked about the card earlier about we're lucky to have you on the team. I also write in there, I hope that you're happy here for many more years. And I absolutely mean that. I want people to be happy and fun. People that are having fun and happy are going to stay at Galloway Company, and therefore our turnover rate will be lower. It's just a benefit. The turnover number being low is a benefit as opposed to the reason why we do it.
But you want the people to be happy. You want them to be having fun because you're convinced it's better from an organizational productivity perspective.
Organizations that are filled up with people that are having fun, that are happy, are going to be more successful.
Interesting. Makes a lot of sense. Throughout your career, it sounds like there's been a fair amount of self-analysis, self-reflection, self-development. How important, as you're looking at potential leaders, is that ability to be introspective?
I think it's phenomenally important to be able to be introspective and coachable at the same time. I think you need to be able to look back. One of my coaches put together a leadership journal for me. I put a note at the end of the day in my leadership journal saying, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What do I need help with? And then therefore I would take that list to my leadership coach and we would work on how do we tweak this? How do we tweak that? And therefore, without being introspective, I can't get better tomorrow than I am today.
All right. How do you take care of yourself? You got a lot going on. You're busy at work. You got family. You're coaching sports. You're doing all this stuff. How do you find time to take care of you? Is that important?
I think it's important for me to take care of me for my team.
Go on.
If I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not going to be around and available for my team. Now, I do take care of myself. I eat healthy. And I exercise, not as much as I'd like to. I used to have a routine that has kind of fallen off a little bit. The routine is head down in the basement every single morning at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, spend some time on the treadmill, throw some free weights around, and then go upstairs and have a cup of coffee and head off to work. I don't do that every day anymore because you're right, Dale. There's lots of things going on. Sometimes I get up in the morning and I fire up my computer before I head downstairs, and I get stuck for an hour and a half, and then I head to work. But I think it's important that leaders set the example and take care of themselves so that the folks around them can see that example and take care of themselves, because it's not just me counting on me, it's my family counting on me and the whole organization counting on me to be successful and the decisions that the team makes together.
You had mentioned it's important for the other people in the organization to see you take care of yourself, so they'll do that. Do you do things to encourage folks in the organization to spend time taking care of themselves?
We do. The HR team has done a phenomenal job of activities during the course of the year, and is actually part of our wellness plan that we've put together. Amy Strange, our manager of HR manager, has done a nice job over the last decade and a half of building this wellness program where we do walks and activities and the turkey trot and
right.
Food weigh-in clubs. So during the holiday season, she does. So we do have plenty of opportunities for folks to do what it takes to watch their weight and be healthy and get exercise.
And why do you do that?
I believe people that are healthy and taking care of themselves are happy and having fun.
And let me guess, you think people that are happy and having fun are going to be more productive.
Yes, exactly.
So
exactly right.
It's a whole flow.
And people that are happy and having fun are at work. and therefore more productive.
Okay. Interesting. Good. What do you look for in a person when you're saying that's a person I think might make sense to move into leadership? What qualities?
Leadership qualities. I think the first thing I look for is coachable. Somebody that is not coachable is not going to be a leader. And if you're not coachable, if you're not willing to take advice, if you're not willing to take direction on how do you be introspective and take some coaching from somebody so that you're better tomorrow than you are today, you're not going to be a leader. I don't think you're going to be successful in a leadership role. And my fear is there are folks out there that are not coachable superstars. You move them into a leadership role and they fail in 6 months. They're not happy. The organization's not happy. It's not a win. So the idea of building leaders, you have to start with coachability. Get them coachable. Help them understand that they need to be coachable before you move them into a leadership role.
So it sounds like your advice to a young person would be along the lines of a certain amount of humility. Don't walk into this thinking you know everything, but walk into it looking what you can learn, how you can grow from the experience.
Yeah, that would be a college educator's definition of my coachability. Yes. So thank you for that, Dale.
Very good. Leadership. How has the leadership challenge evolved, changed over the number of years that you've been in leadership roles? Have you seen any differences?
Oh my God, yes. Throw COVID, right? I stepped in the chair in May of 2020 and COVID was just heading up. So the challenges along with that were phenomenal. I mean, we had senior leadership teams meeting. We were sitting around the table. The next day, we were all working from home trying to have a senior leadership team meeting. And and we were doing it over a phone. We didn't have WebEx set up then or Zoom meetings or any of that stuff. So
back in the old days,
try to herd the cats over a phone when 6 people are trying to talk at the same time and you can't see. So much more of a challenge through COVID than prior to COVID. And as you grow in leadership, or at least should speak for myself, as I grow in leadership, the dynamic changes for me internally. As I learn one thing, it becomes easier so I can go on to the next challenge. Today, my leadership, when I first stepped into the role, I was getting 5 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep a night because I was introspective every night trying to figure out what I did wrong the day before and what I should do different the next day. Now I've come to learn that there's a superstar team around me on the senior leadership team. There's no reason to be staying up, all hours of the night worrying about stuff because there's a strong team around me. These folks are going to figure this stuff out. I just need to provide a little bit of guidance, get the right people in the room at the right time. We're going to work this stuff out. There's a saying that I say all the time. This will work itself out in the end. If it's not worked out yet, it just means it's not the end yet.
So take care of yourself, get your good 7 hours of sleep, and trust on the team to help make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What's the hardest part of being a leader?
The hardest part of being a leader. That's a tough question. What is the hardest part of being a leader? My most difficult part of being a leader. I'm struggling on that one.
What's the most fun part of being a leader?
So I'll answer your first question and I'll do both.
Okay.
The hardest part of being a leader is I just got back from a conference and it's a national food chain with 850 stores. And we were given an award for the supplier of the year. And this organization has dozens and dozens of suppliers. And we were given the award, called up on the stage with 2,000 people in the room and given this chunk of crystal that said supplier of the year. It's difficult for me to take credit for all the cool stuff that happened back at the plant. And I'm not lying, when there were no less than 100 franchisees walked up to us and said, "Hey, congratulations on being the supplier of the year. You guys were the only supplier, honestly, the only supplier that didn't run us out of product in this last year. So thank you very much for that." And I invariably said, "Thank you for saying something. I appreciate your business, but I can't take credit for this. There's 130 families back at that plant that busted their tail all year long. And of course, I'll try to convey your thank you, but I certainly can't take credit for this. And it's difficult for me to take credit. You asked me what's my most difficult thing. Is taking credit for all the cool stuff that the folks have done back at the plant. The most fun thing I do as a leader is watching these people when I go back to the plant. I'll be back there tomorrow, and I'm going to walk around and I'm going to shake everybody's hand and thank them for doing what they did to get us, our team, the Supplier of the Year award for this particular organization. And I couldn't be proud. It's going to be fun to shake their hand and watch the smile on their face.
So the hard part is when you, as the figurehead, if you will, get accolades that you know are really the organization's accolades and other people's accolades. But the most fun part is when you get to share it with the other folks and watch them grow and develop.
Yeah, exactly.
So the most fun part of being a leader is the followers.
Yes. Yeah.
So when something goes well, it's not always due to the leader. So if these podcasts go well, it's not just because you and I are geniuses. We have to give credit to all the other people that came up with the idea and editing and filming it and et cetera.
Let me tweak a little bit. What you said was, you said the most fun part about being a leader is the followers. I don't think the most fun part about being a leader is the followers, as opposed to
Go on.
Being part of that whole team.
Okay.
And if I can be the figurehead of that, if I can help point the direction and that team comes along, that's pretty fun stuff. And it's really cool as the leader, hearing all these cool accolades and bringing that back to the folks back at the plant, the team members, the guys that are actually doing all the hard work.
So in a leadership role, it's fun to be a leader. Do you think that's something that would be fun for lots of folks to do? Is it fun for you to do?
I'm having an absolute blast being a leader of the Galloway company. It's just a phenomenal organization. When I looked at the leader of the organization, I thought, that's what I want to do. That looks like a lot of fun. On the other hand, I think there are folks that look down and say, you know what, that can't be any fun at all. There's no reason why I would want to do that. And you're going to meetings, you're doing not fun stuff, you're traveling, you're doing all that sort of thing. I love it. I think it's great. It's what I want to do. I think it was what I was meant to do, but not right for everybody.
So leadership can be a lot of fun, and for some people, they'll get a lot of great jazz out of it. Others, it may not be for them, and that's okay.
It's absolutely fine. Yeah, follow your vision.
All right. One last question. There's sometimes in organizations you have these stars, really good at their stuff, but they don't fit in the culture of the organization. They don't necessarily make a very good leader. How do you deal with that star who isn't coachable, who isn't part of the Galloway culture?
That's a tough one, because I think our organization is full of folks that not just fit the organization from a culture standpoint, but help build the culture. There are folks that didn't start there, but they understand this is the culture and I will help build on that culture, or I'm not going to be right for this, and they'll self-eliminate. Occasionally you'll run into some folks that we have to help them eliminate. That is the worst part of my job.
That's not fun.
By far. And there are just some, the Galloway company is right for lots and lots of people, not right for every single soul that's out there. And you have to deal with those. As a leader, you need to make sure that the culture, my job as a leader, I see it as the maintainer of the culture. And if I have one or two people that don't fit the culture, the rest of the culture sees me allow that happen. That's not good for the rest of the culture. I need to address that.
So you have an obligation,
absolutely,
to protect the culture. And if that means helping, coaching, developing an employee, great. But if it gets to the point where helping, coaching, developing isn't getting return on investment, you'll help them move on.
And the Galloway company is helping, encouraging, developing to the 10th degree. We go above and beyond, helping, encouraging, developing to fit the culture, to build the culture. as much as any other organization I've ever been a.
That's impressive. Final piece of advice that you would give to young people who are starting their leadership journey. What nugget of wisdom would you give them to strive at this?
So a couple things. Maybe I'll answer the question a little bit different.
However you want.
The question that sometimes I get asked is, what's your secret? And the culture, my answer to what's your secret is, you need to figure out how to be coachable. And it's okay not to be the smartest person in the room. Be coachable. The one thing that I believe has gained my success, never the smartest person in the room. Oftentimes I'm the hardest working person in the room. You got to work hard to get better tomorrow than what you are today. And without hard work, you're not going to be better tomorrow. The organization is not going to be better. Your leadership style and your leadership ability will not be better tomorrow. Therefore, the team around you is counting on you to be coachable, work hard, be better tomorrow than you are today, and the organization will be forever thankful for that.
So working hard, humble enough to be able to be coachable, figuring out how to grow and develop, that's going to trump walking in with lots of really great brains.
By far.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your spending your time and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Dale, and thank you for the rest of the team around us here, hiding behind the cameras and microphones. I appreciate the ability to tell Galloway Company's story, to tell my story. And if I can share what I have learned and what I have done in my career that would help somebody else, I would gladly do it.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you all for listening to another It's Time podcast. Thank you.
It's Time is a production of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh College of Business graduate programs in association with Venture Project Studios. Executive producer, Aaron J. Armstrong. Host, Professor Dale Feinauer. Creative Director, Madison Potratz. Director of Photography, Elazar Kloon. Audio and Video Editor, Elazar Kloon. Marketing Strategy, Tara Larson. Social Media, Anwar Mahana. A special thanks to L Creative, Top View Media, Michael Patton, and the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh College of Business graduate programs.